We have breaking news on Wells Fargo in overtime. The bank, which used to be the #1 mortgage lender in the U.S., is stepping back from the housing market in a very big way. CNBC.com's Hugh Sohn just broke that story. He joins us more. Hugh, what can you tell us here?
Hey, Scott, good to be with you. So first of all, the thing you have to know about Wells Fargo is this was their pride and joy, the U.S. mortgage business. This was the generator of a lot of their profits over the years. And as recently as 2019, they were the biggest mortgage lender in the country. So what they're saying now today is, instead of going for everybody they could, and really up to a 40 or 50% market share, which was their previous aspiration under previous leadership, they're saying we're only going to sell mortgages if you're an existing customer or if you happen to reside in a minority neighborhood. And so that's the first thing to know. The second thing to know is there's a business called correspondent lending business. That's where essentially they provide the capital to other firms that sell mortgages under other names. And this is a major pipeline for their business. They're essentially shuttering that business, which accounted for 40% of their mortgage volume as recently as the third quarter. And on top of that, they have a thing called mortgage servicing rights. It's a huge business for them. And in that as well, that they're going to retrench, and they're planning on selling what is likely to be billions of dollars worth of MSRs to other players in the industry.
Yeah, interesting.
Welcome to Key Stock and Crypto channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And guys, we had a crazy morning. The FAA grounded all flights, and that hasn't happened since 9/11 due to an outage. Now, guys, Fox News is the only one that had that title. If you go all over television, no one is saying that. Something is going on behind the scenes, and there's actually no updated news. So something is definitely happening. But with all the commotion, we had stocks and cryptos up. And if you follow me on my main channel, Crypto Teacher, I told you that January was going to be a good month, just because we don't have to worry about the Fed. And because they're driving down yields, the money is flowing everywhere. We have the meme stocks are back, AMC and Bed Bath & Beyond. And we know Bed Bath & Beyond has bankruptcy concerns. Now, guys, we have inflation data tomorrow, and we know how they can twist it and turn it. I went over this tonight on my Crypto Teacher channel. If it comes in slightly down, we know they're going to say the Fed has the right to keep the foot on the gas. And we know the Fed and the central banks are still going to be raising rates and rolling off the balance sheet. So that's exactly what I expect to happen. But we have Jim Cramer says stocks can rally over the next couple months. And we know he's been saying to sell your Chinese stocks and your cryptos. And we know the emerging markets and cryptos are definitely the future for the fourth industrial revolution. But guys, while the Fed is raising rates and running off this balance sheet, the stock market is definitely not going to run. We know why stocks are up right now. We can clearly look at the indicators, and we clearly see bond yields being lowered. The bond market right now is quiet. But we know just a few weeks ago, we were over 4% on the 10-year yield. But guys, the only thing you have to do is look at the inverted yield curve. It's always going to tell you the truth, and we know the crash is coming. But speaking of the emerging markets, we have Alibaba and Chinese stocks have been on a roll. And we know the opening has happened. Do not forget, Chinese New Year's on the 21st. So a lot of liquidity is going to be pulled out the market because everything shuts down for like a week. I think it's from the 23rd through the 27th. Now we have commodities moving up. And guys, we know gold and silver is definitely real money. Do not let anyone fool you. And we know the fourth industrial revolution, everything is going to be digital. So you definitely need digital currencies. But gold and silver is not going anywhere. And we know that every major item that we have, I don't care whether it's an electric car, I don't care whether it's a gas car, I don't care whether it's your cell phone, you have to have commodities for those items to work. And don't let anyone fool you. Now we know in order for the fourth industrial revolution to work, they need Skynet. And we see Elon with the Starlinks, but guys, don't forget about Verizon, AT&T, and then plus you're talking about dividends. 5G is going to be very important. Now, in my Patreon, someone asked me to go over real estate. What is going to happen? And guys, you're looking at these charts. Now, don't forget we went through the housing crash back in 2007, 2008 when we were going through an expansion. And then we went through another expansion, and now we're getting a pullback. So remember, in 2020, when we had the C word, nobody moved because Congress and the Fed was paying their bills. And then plus, people were buying because we had a 0% interest rate. And that caused housing prices to go through the roof because you're controlling the supply and demand. That's what the Fed can do. And now we have the Fed driving up interest rates. And again, nobody's moving, but also no one's buying. And they're going to continue on raising rates, which of course that's going to drive down housing prices. And they're going to keep these rates up high like this until the fourth industrial revolution is ready, where the robots, algorithms, and drones take over the economy. Now, guys, getting over into the actual indicator, we had yield rates pushed down. We had the dollar slightly down, and we had the VIX slightly up. And guys, we know the VIX is going to tell us everything. Right now, the VIX is calm. But we know at the end of the month, going into February, it's going to start moving up. I'm not your financial advisor, not financial advice. Please do your own research. But guys, get ready, because we're going to be on a roller coaster ride. But guys, that's all I have for you. Have a wonderful day.
And a former American pilot with more than 30 years of experience. It's great to have you here. Welcome.
Good beer.
Do you think it was the right call to issue this nationwide system grounding this morning?
Well, before I answer that question, let's reassure our passengers that safety was never a major factor in this, and what happened, as I mentioned, was extraordinary, just an anomaly in my opinion. But at this point, it's incredible that this actually had to shut down the system. But the reason,
and when you talk to people about this in the cybersecurity community, as I did this morning, within a few minutes of this news crossing the wire in the 6 a.m. hour, cybersecurity experts are saying, like, this particular system inside the FAA is not the one that they would have assumed would go down. They would have assumed that the air traffic control system itself would have been hit because that might be more vulnerable and more crucial to the links here in air traffic in the United States and affecting the economy more broadly in the United States if it was a cyber attack. So a couple of reasons why folks don't think this is a cyber attack. One is we've been looking at the dark web all day. We don't see any evidence of anybody taking credit or talking about this in hacker forums. That's something you typically see, particularly if it would be a ransomware attack. Also, we don't see who out there would have the motive to do this, to just sort of cause this kind of chaos for a few hours in the U.S. air transportation system. And then, of course, you see the major figures involved here. A senior law enforcement official told NBC News earlier today that there's no indication that this was a cyber attack. And we saw Pete Buttigieg, the transportation secretary, out today with a statement saying there's no evidence necessarily that this was caused by anything malicious. So take all of that together, and there you see the Buttigieg statement, no direct indication of any kind of external or nefarious activity, not yet prepared to rule it out, though. So everybody that you talk to in this area today says, it's a possibility, but we don't see it. And that's sort of where things stand as we wind down the business day.
Eamon, if it were a nation state, though, testing vulnerabilities, do you think that there would be talk of that on the dark web? Oh, hey, we tested the vulnerability of the FAA networks and we were successful. I mean, I just can't see a nation state doing that if it were.
A really good point. If it's a nation state, probably not. If it's some kind of hacker organization that's doing ransomware, sometimes you will see bragging on the dark web, and you will see what they call shame blogs or shame sites on the dark web, where they're posting embarrassing information about the people that they've targeted. But if it's the Russians, if it's the Chinese, definitely you're not going to see them bragging in public about it. The question is, do they benefit from this? Could this be a test? Or is this something where you don't really see a nation state having an incentive to do this, at least not right now where we are geopolitically? Right.
Eamon, thank you. Eamon Javers. And I don't want to stoke any conspiracy theories. Everybody says there's nothing, but...
No cynics here.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, boy.
Right. Airline stocks, you're pointing this out.